army selection across the board should now be on the basis of ability rather than gender. We have to do a small piece of further research into our training regimes to make sure there is no long-term damage on women's health from asking them to carry the same amount of weight as men. I think we can improve those regimes for both men and women, but subject to that, if women want to volunteer for any unit in the British Army, I think they should be able to do so. The United States has announced change, but it hasn't fully implemented it yet. They're going carefully, and we do owe a duty of care to both men and women in the Army for the effect on their health of the whole career. So we haven't rushed into this, but the decision we've taken today is that in principle there should be no bar to women serving in any unit, just as they now serve on submarines, they now fly fighter bombers. Should be no bar on them fighting in any unit of the British Army, subject to this small piece of further research. We must not compromise the effectiveness of the fighting unit. We're not talking here about lowering standards, but we do need to make sure that the physical training regimes we have fully accommodate women, the differences there are between men and women. Women are on average slightly shorter, slightly smaller, and we just need to make sure those regimes are adapted and if anything improved, so that we can fully respect the differences between men and women.
Sit down and have a conversation with Colin Saysel, and I'm gutted that I can't be here. I suppose I first heard of him a few years ago when friends of mine that weren't wise enough to stop painting chains and vandalising stuff when I did began dropping like flies, and the evil rat catcher was Mr. Saysel. And I don't know, the stories that I've heard, I suppose he's a bit like a bogeyman, a graffiti bogeyman. If he gets you on his list, then he kind of gets you. And stories that I've heard is he came up from Bristol and somehow he managed to get a load of money for British Transport Police Vandal Squad, and Vandal Squad was or is the lowest of the low in British Transport Police, and British Transport Police is one step down from the Metropolitan Police, so they're kind of considered like Toy Town cops. But somehow he managed to get a load of funding and used technology to catch everybody, emails and number plate recognition system and mapping your phones, and with that kind of evidence it's hard to get off. And then ferociously pushed for really high or long prison sentences, and you get people going to prison for like 2-5 years, and it's like, for what? Changing the colour of something, and this is my other question, is like, I know for a fact that nobody cares anymore. Like, the whole world is covered in graffiti and street art and no one cares. It's just part of urban noise. It used to offend people 30 years ago. People thought that graffiti was scary, the broken window theory. If someone can tag the side of this wall, does that mean they can smash the window of my car? Does that mean they can rape my daughter? So, for a long time graffiti had those kind of, it implied that there was danger lurking around the corner and no one was safe. But fast forward 30 years, no one cares. And so I think it's quite interesting that somebody like Colin Saysel does care so passionately about something that nobody else gives a shit about. You know what I mean? It's like tracksides on British Rail and London Underground. If they stopped painting over them, they would get tagged, and then people would do silver stuff over it, and then eventually people would do nice paintings over it, and then it would actually be something to look at. And yet they waste millions and millions of pounds painting over it continuously. And the natural evolution of graffiti is it will just turn out looking nice. It might not be what you want as the owner of those walls, but at least you're not going to waste millions of pounds cleaning it off. So I'm just, I'm interested about why he hates it so much, what angers him about it. It's like,